So, Samantha, tell Charles what you do. It's computers, right? Something with resetting passwords? My sister Tiffany's laugh was like shattering crystal, sharp, bright, and expensive. She squeezed my arm, a gesture that looked affectionate but felt like a warning. Across the table, Charles, her fiancé's father, a man whose defense contracts were worth more than the GDP of some small countries, looked at me with polite boredom. I smiled. I nodded. I let them believe it. Because 3 hours ago, while Tiffany was worrying about the floral arrangements for this engagement party, I was authorizing a kinetic cyberstrike to prevent a Tier 1 attack on the Western power grid. I had the nuclear codes for the digital age in my pocket, and my own family thought I worked at a help desk in a strip mall. The irony was so thick I could almost taste it, metallic and cold on my tongue. I took a sip of my water. I didn't correct them. I just watched. I want you to pause and answer this honestly in the comments. Have you ever had to sit in silence while someone who knows nothing about you explained your own life to you? Where are you watching from tonight? My name is Samantha, and it started as a game of telephone I was too exhausted to win. 7 years ago, I joined the NSA. I told my father I worked in government cyber intelligence. He heard government IT. He told my mother I worked with computers. She told Tiffany I fixed computers. By the time it reached the extended family, I was basically the person you call when your printer jams or your Wi-Fi is slow. At first, I tried to correct them. I'd say, "No, Dad, I work in cryptography." He'd wave a hand and say, right, coding. Like that Geek Squad place. Eventually, I stopped. I realized something fascinating about human psychology. They didn't mishear me because they were deaf. They misheard me because it was convenient. See, Tiffany has always been the star. The influencer. The brand. Her success is loud. It requires an audience. My success is silent. It requires a security clearance. If I were actually a high-level government asset, it would disrupt the family ecosystem. It would mean Tiffany wasn't the only special one. It would mean my father's metrics for success, visible wealth, fame, public adoration, were incomplete. So, their brains rejected the truth like a bad organ transplant. They needed me to be small so Tiffany could feel big. It was a defense mechanism for their own fragile egos. I became the safe sibling. The one who made steady, boring money fixing laptops, while Tiffany was out there conquering the world one Instagram post at a time. I let them have their narrative. It was safer for everyone that way. 2 days before the engagement party, Tiffany summoned me to a coffee shop. Not just any coffee shop, one of those places where the walls are pastel pink and the coffee costs $9. She slid a garment bag across the table. For the party, she said. Please wear this. And Sam. Please try to blend in. I unzipped the bag. It was a beige dress. Not cream, not tan. Beige. The color of office carpeting. The color of invisibility. Charles is very important, Tiffany continued, her voice tight. His world is different. High stakes. Defense contracts. Please don't bore him with stories about fixing printers or resetting routers. Just smile. Nod. Let Preston do the talking. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was terrified. She was about to marry into a family that operated on a level of power she couldn't even comprehend, and her strategy was to curate reality until it looked like a Pinterest board. She thought she was protecting the family image. She didn't realize she was instructing a shark on how to swim. I could have told her right then. I could have said, Tiffany, I have a higher security clearance than Charles. I have sat in briefings that would make his blood run cold. But I didn't. Because the silence of the iceberg is its greatest weapon. You don't see the mass until it's too late. Okay, I said. I'll wear the beige. She exhaled, relieved. She thought she had one. She thought I was submitting. She didn't understand that when you hold the keys to the kingdom, you don't need to shout to be heard. You just wait. The venue was a glass box in the sky, a rooftop event space in downtown San Francisco overlooking the Bay Bridge. It smelled of expensive perfume and ozone. The wind off the bay was cold, but the heat lamps and the press of bodies kept the elite warm. I arrived in my beige dress, blending perfectly into the background, just as ordered. My mother intercepted me within 30 seconds. She didn't hug me. She adjusted my collar and steered me toward the bar, away from the VIP section. "Stay here," she whispered. "Get a drink. Don't wander." I stood by the bar, nursing a club soda, watching the theater. Tiffany was glowing, hanging off the arm of Preston, her fiancé. Charles, the patriarch, was holding court in the center of the room. He was a man who took up space. Broad shoulders, sharp suit, eyes that scanned the room looking for threats or opportunities. Then, the moment happened. My father waved me over. I saw the hesitation in his hand, but he did it. He had to introduce me. It was protocol. "Charles," my father said, his voice a little too loud, a little too eager. "This is our other daughter, Samantha." Charles turned. His gaze was heavy. "Ah, Samantha. Tiffany tells me you're in tech?" "Sort of," I began. "She's in support," my father interrupted, a nervous chuckle escaping him. "You know, the help desk side of things. Keeping the lights on for the rest of us." Tiffany, appearing at my elbow, chimed in. "She's a wizard with a router reset. Seriously, if your Wi-Fi ever goes down, she's your girl." The circle laughed. It was a polite, dismissive sound. A sound that said, "You are small. You are service staff. You are irrelevant." Charles looked at me, his interest evaporating instantly. "Essential work," he murmured, already turning away to speak to a senator standing nearby. I stood there, the laughter ringing in my ears. I checked my watch. 8:42 p.m. The humiliation was complete. They had put me in my box. They had nailed the lid shut. And then, the lights went out. It wasn't a flicker. It was a hard cut. The music died. The heat lamps clicked off. The ambient glow of the city's skyline, the office towers, the streetlights, the bridge, vanished. San Francisco went black. For 3 seconds, there was silence. Then, the collective gasp of 200 wealthy people realizing they were in the dark. Phones lit up like fireflies, casting eerie blue shadows on panicked faces. "Is it a blackout?" someone shouted. "My phone isn't working," Tiffany cried out, her voice rising an octave. "I have no signal." "Why is there no signal?" I checked my wrist. My watch, a standard-issue analog face with a secure digital sublayer, was glowing faintly red. It wasn't a blackout. It was a hard-kill signal jammer followed by a grid shutdown. This was a coordinated attack. While the influencers screamed about their Instagram stories not uploading, I felt a familiar cold calm wash over me. This was my office. This was my Tuesday. Charles's personal security detail burst through the service doors. 2 large men in earpieces, looking frantic. They weren't looking for an exit. They were looking for Charles. One of them held a heavy, black satellite phone, the kind that connects directly to the Pentagon constellation. They shoved their way through the crowd to Charles. "Sir," the lead agent said, his voice cutting through the panic. "It's the Secretary of Defense. Priority 1. The landlines are dead. This is the only link." Charles took the phone, his hand trembling. The room went quiet, sensing the shift from social inconvenience to national emergency. "Mr. Secretary?" Charles said into the device. "Yes. I'm at the event. The grid is down." "I don't understand." "What?" He listened. I watched the color drain from his face. He looked up, scanning the dark room, his eyes wide with fear. "She's here." "You're sure?" He listened again. Then he lowered the phone slowly. He didn't look at Preston. He didn't look at Tiffany. He looked straight at the corner where the beige dress was standing. Charles walked across the room. The crowd parted for him, sensing the gravity of his movement. My father tried to step in front of him. Charles, what's going on? Is it a power outage? Charles ignored him. He walked right up to me. He held out the satellite phone like it was a holy relic. It's for you, he whispered. He said Authorization Code Red. I took the phone. The weight of it felt good in my hand. Familiar. I hit the transmit button. This is Ghost, I said. My voice wasn't the quiet murmur of the sister anymore. It was the voice that commanded drone strikes. Status report. I listened for 10 seconds. Understood. The kill switch is embedded in the localized substations. They're using a polymorphic worm. I need a terminal. Now. I handed the phone back to Charles and pointed at his briefcase on the table. Open it. I need your laptop. It's encrypted, Charles stammered. Biometric lock. I don't need your permission, Charles. I need your hardware. I cracked the laptop lid. The civilian encryption fell in 4 seconds. The screen flooded with code. I began typing. Behind me, I could hear my family gasping. What is she doing? Tiffany shrieked. Samantha, stop. You're going to break it. Quiet, Charles snapped. It was the first time he had ever spoken harshly to her. Nobody move. I was in the flow state now. The architecture of the attack was elegant, Russian in origin, but lazy. They hadn't anticipated a level 5 operator being physically present at the epicenter. I built a firewall in real time, isolating the infected nodes, rerouting the city's power protocols through a secure DoD server. It was a study in contrast. On one side of the room, Tiffany was hyperventilating because she couldn't post a selfie. On the other side, I was preventing a catastrophic infrastructure collapse that would have cost billions of dollars and thousands of lives. Visible power versus invisible power. They had spent their lives worshipping the former. They were about to be saved by the latter. I hit enter. The hum returned first. The deep, low vibration of the HVAC system kicking back on. Then, the lights. The chandeliers flickered and blazed to life. The Bay Bridge lit up in the distance. The music system rebooted with a chirp. The city was back. I closed the laptop. I handed the satellite phone back to Charles. Tell the secretary the patch is holding, I said. But he needs to update the firmware on the western substations. It's sloppy. The silence in the room was heavier than the darkness had been. Charles looked at the phone, then at me. You're Ghost, he whispered. I've been trying to headhunt you for 5 years. We offered a $2 million signing bonus. You never even responded. He turned slowly to my father. You told me she fixed printers. My father opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He looked like a fish on a dock. We thought. You thought what? Charles's voice was cold. That the NSA lead cryptographer was resetting routers at Best Buy? My mother stepped forward, tears welling up in her eyes, the weaponized tears she always used when she was losing control. Sonia. Samantha, we just didn't know. You never told us. We always knew you were special, we just... Stop, I said. I didn't yell. I didn't have to. The word cut through the air like a knife. Tiffany was staring at me, her mouth slightly open. She looked at Charles, the man she was trying so hard to impress, looking at me with awe. She realized, in that second, that her entire hierarchy had just inverted. She wasn't the star anymore. She was the jester. You knew what you wanted to know, I said to my parents. It was easier to believe I was a failure than to admit you didn't understand me. You didn't want the truth. You wanted a punchline. I moved past them, a shark cutting through stagnant water. I didn't wait for their stammered apologies or their sudden, desperate attempts to claim credit for my success. The elevator buttons glowed ahead, the only destination that mattered. Wait. Charles called out. He hurried after me. Samantha, please. My firm, we need someone like you. Name your price. Seriously. Blank check. Consulting, advisory, whatever you want. I paused at the elevator doors. It would be easy to take it. To take the millions, to rub it in their faces every day. But that would mean staying in their orbit. That would mean playing their game, just winning it. I serve the country, Charles, I said. Not the profit margin. And definitely not this family. You ruined my night. Tiffany screamed from the back of the room, her composure finally shattering. You made this all about you. I turned one last time. I didn't ruin anything, Tiffany, I said. I just turned the lights back on. You're the one who prefers the dark. The elevator doors closed, sealing them away. Back in my apartment, it was quiet. No music. No chatter. Just the hum of my own servers. I sat down at my desk. I pulled up my contact list on my personal phone. Mom. Dad. Tiffany. I didn't block them out of anger. I blocked them out of necessity. They were a security risk. A vulnerability. I selected block all. This wasn't revenge. It was a firewall. And for the first time in my life, the system was secure.